You are Locked On Knicks POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports New York on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Knicks and Nets played twice in 3 days in the very same building. And good on the Knicks for winning both. They did it again tonight. Of course, they almost blew it Friday night. They escaped victorious. Brooklyn tried to come back again tonight. New York holds on. Final score from the Garden Sunday, 114-104. Karl Anthony Towns returned after sitting out Friday with a bruised knee, pumped in a game-high 26 to lead the way for New York. The Knicks will now head out on a 5-game road trip, mostly out west, after Monday night's home game with the Wizards at the Garden. That will wrap up their 4-game homestand. And then, as we said, and we'll get to it, a monster season-long 5-game road trip with 4 of those games out west. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Berman. If you're a New Yorker, you might recognize my work. If not, welcome aboard. I've spent more than 2 decades in the biz, everything from TV to web to radio. You can follow me, as always, on X at Jay Berman, Jayberman. Welcome to the Locked On Knicks postcast, both on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel and the Locked On Knicks podcast feed. The postcast gives you a place to hang out after every single Knicks game. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, every single day. We'll chat everything offense. All 5 Knicks starters were in double digits again tonight. 4 starters with at least 20. Not much from the bench as we await the returns of both Precious Achiuwa and Mitchell Robinson. And, of course, we'll set you up for both the Wizards Monday night game at the Garden and then, as we said, that long road trip out west. All that coming up on the postcast. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Remember, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Knicks Daily Newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. All right, as we said, a 114-104 victory for the Knicks tonight over the Brooklyn Nets. 2 up, 2 down against the rivals. Of course, they played back-to-back games. Friday night was the NBA Cup. The Knicks are now 2-0 in the NBA Cup. This was not the NBA Cup, just a regularly scheduled regular season game. And as we said, the Knicks won by 10, 114-104. Knicks now 7-6 overall as they've won back-to-back games, and they're 4-2 overall. Again, they've played 13 games, 6 of them at home, and we'll have quite a few more on the road coming up. The Knicks had a 10, 11, 12, even 13 and 14-point lead at one stretch during this game tonight in the second half. However, the Nets repeatedly got it down into single digits before the Knicks would bump it back up to a dozen, back down to 5, 6, or 7 for Brooklyn, right back up to 10 or 11. And, of course, that's where we finish a 10-point spread, 114-104. Karl Anthony Towns played just 30 minutes. He did have 5 fouls tonight, which is a big reason why he played only 30 minutes. Also, coming back off the bruised knee, and he hurt his back tonight. He was able to finish. Played just 30 minutes, 10 of 16 from the floor, pumped in a game-high 26, grabbed 15 rebounds, dished out 6 assists, and as we said, really filled up the stat sheet. Also had 5 fouls on the night. 24 for OG Anunoby, 9 of 17 from the floor. 21 for Mikal Bridges, 9 of 18 from the floor as he goes up against his former team. Josh Hart once again filled it up. Hart had 20 points, 3 3-pointers, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and he was a +8, +16 for Mikal Bridges. I know we discuss it every postcast right here, the plus-minus and how important a number it is, how important a statistic it is. The Knicks, obviously, with the exception really of Jalen Brunson, were all pluses tonight. Mikal Bridges +16, Karl Anthony Towns +14, Josh Hart was a +8. The Knicks, 43 of 88 from the floor for 49%. They hit 13 threes, 13 of 40. for 32.5%. We'll call it 33%. As for the Nets, certainly giving the Knicks a fight. They shot 42% from the floor, 32 of 76. They did hit 17 three-pointers. As we said, it's been an interesting ride over the last couple of nights, really the last week for the Knicks. They lose in Atlanta, win in Philadelphia, come home after that lengthy road swing, lose to the Bulls in excruciating fashion. Then they have 2 with Brooklyn, and they almost blew that in excruciating fashion Friday night against the Nets. Instead, it was a win, 124-122. They win tonight, 114-104. And again, they'll look to make it 3 in a row against Washington tomorrow night at the Garden, up against Monday Night Football. Again, 7:30 tip time for the Nets, for the Knicks and the Wizards tomorrow night. Before we get there, we have to break down tonight's game, Knicks and Nets from the Garden. Cam Johnson had 22 to lead Brooklyn. Cam Thomas had just 16. Thomas, of course, had back-to-back 40-plus point games as a Net at Madison Square Garden, which, of course, is the record for any Net at any point in time. Now, there are 5 starters and 5 players on the court at one time per team. We know that. However, look who came off the bench, and admittedly 3 of them in garbage time. But count them up with me. Bench players to get a minute tonight for the Brooklyn Nets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bench players. Every man on the roster tonight for the Brooklyn Nets saw at least 1 minute of playing time. As for the playing time with the Knicks, Mikal Bridges played 45 minutes tonight. Only one short of Josh Hart's team high, 46 minutes. These guys are playing basically the entire game. Jalen Brunson, who did not hit a shot until 3 minutes into the third quarter. His first field goal goes down 3 minutes into the third quarter. He was just 3 of 14 on the night, 0 of 5 from three-point land, but again, had 12 points and steadied the way for the Knicks offense. As we said, 4 of the 5 starters, all with at least 20 points, 20 for Hart, 26 for Towns. Anunoby had 24, and the former Net Mikal Bridges, as we said, had 21. Karl Anthony Towns, we told you, returned after missing Friday night with a bruised knee. 2 early fouls had him on the bench early in the first quarter, and still with all that, still managed to play 30 minutes. He was in foul trouble really up until the very end when everybody finally sat down. As we said, had 5 fouls, and when his 5th foul came, the Nets were very much alive. So 5 key fouls for Karl Anthony Towns, who was already fouled out once this year. For record and for comparison's sake, fouled out 7 times last year, so he's ahead of the pace. Deuce McBride, once again, did not play, still sick. So the Knicks had just 3 guys come off the bench tonight. Jericho Sims played 18 minutes. Cam Payne had 17. Cam Payne had 3 more three-pointers as he continues to look aggressive from the three-point line. And Pacome Dadier played 10 minutes as well, did not score. So again, just 3 guys off the bench. Sims, Payne, and Dadier did not see Matt Ryan or Ariel Hukporti tonight. Expected to see Hukporti after his 30-minute performance the other night against Brooklyn. Well, 30 minutes that featured his first 7 points as an NBA rookie. And they were effective points, and they were effective rebounds, and they were an effective presence in the paint. Obviously, Knicks didn't need him tonight. They still win comfortably by 10, 114-104, even with Brooklyn outscoring the Knicks 23-19 in the final stanza. But again, no Hukporti tonight, no Matt Ryan, who's now missed the last 2 games. Tyler Kolek also sat with the emergence of late of Cam Payne, who played 17 minutes tonight, was a +5, scored 9 points, 3 of 7 from three-point land, took 7 shots, made 3 of them all from beyond the arc. All right, 114-104, the final score. 22 points for Cam Johnson in the loss, 16 for Cam Thomas. Jalen Wilson, the good-looking youngster, 15 off the bench. Noah Clowney had 13 off the bench for Brooklyn. As we said, one more game before the West Coast swings gets underway. We will break it down coming up next. All right, this show is sponsored by BetterHelp Therapy, which is a great tool for facing your fears and finding ways to overcome them. You might be thinking, quote, I don't have time. But with BetterHelp, you can connect with a therapist entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge until you find the perfect fit. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, second segment of the show. You're watching the Locked On Knicks postcast. Knicks Nets Part 2. That's right. Of course, they played Friday night, and they played tonight as well. A 114-104 victory, a 10-point spread. The Knicks were up roughly 10, 11, 12, 13 points for most of the second half. Every couple of minutes, the Nets would knock that down to 5, 6, or 7 points, and then immediately the Knicks would get it back up to double digits, only to be preceded by yet another Brooklyn Nets run. But 5, 6, 7 was as close as the Nets would get in the second half, specifically the fourth quarter, and the Knicks took care of the rest. Again, 114-104. Karl Anthony Towns, another brilliant night, a physical night, 15 rebounds, along with 26 points, 6 assists, did have 5 personal fouls. All right, we'll go through the road trip as we promised. The Knicks face Washington tomorrow night. We'll be right here with you on the Locked On Knicks postcast. Knicks and Wizards Monday night from the Garden, 7:30 tip time. Then the dreaded 5-game West Coast swing, the longest West Coast swing, the longest road trip of the season for New York. It begins Wednesday in Phoenix, then all the way in Utah for Saturday. So Wednesday, Saturday, and then a week from tomorrow, Monday in Denver, before Wednesday, November 27th, the night before Thanksgiving, in Dallas. Then Black Friday, we told you, they go Phoenix, Utah, Denver, Dallas, to Charlotte before returning home to New York. So from Dallas to Charlotte, Black Friday at Charlotte is a noon Eastern time game before the Knicks finally return home for 4 games at the friendly confines of Madison Square Garden. New Orleans, Orlando, Charlotte, and Detroit. Those are the 4 games beginning in early December. That, of course, after the monster season-long road swing, which takes us again to Phoenix, Utah, Denver, Dallas, and Charlotte. The Knicks were dishing the ball nicely tonight, and it was worthy of mention. The Knicks dished out 33 assists. They've now had at least 30 assists in 7 games this season, so they are sharing and caring, as Clyde would say. 10 games all of last season featured at least 30 assists from the Knicks. They've already got 7. They had 9 assists in the first quarter, 19 in the first half. They've been averaging just 26 assists per game. And they did it again tonight with 33 to up that average. By the way, 4 of the 5 starters in double digits in the first half, all 5 double digits overall, and 4 of the 5 pumped in at least 20, with the exception of Jalen Brunson, who had 12 on just 3 of 14 shooting. And we told you Brunson didn't hit a field goal until the second half. 3 minutes into the third quarter, his first field goal, missed every shot he took in the first half. Again, was just 3 of 14, but even when he isn't working well, still dished out 10 assists, still grabbed 5 rebounds. Now, as we said, the Knicks had 33 assists, just 6 turnovers. The Knicks are averaging 12.5 turnovers per game, between 12 and 13, and they had just 6 tonight while dishing out 33 assists. The 33 to 6 ratio is tremendous. That's as good as it gets. All right, 114-104 is the final score as the Knicks take 2 from the Brooklyn Nets. If you recall, Friday night, the Knicks had a 21-point lead, and they blew it, only to watch Jalen Brunson hit a three-pointer, followed by a Mikal Bridges block shot, and the Knicks hung on to beat Brooklyn 124-122. That came 2 nights after the Knicks erased a 22-point deficit to the Bulls, only to watch them lose by 1. Watch Jalen Brunson's shot go down, around, and out. 124-123, that was the loss to the Bulls. 124-122, that was the win against Brooklyn. And then tonight, 114-104. It really was a close game for the most part, with the exception of the third quarter. That's where the Knicks made the difference and pulled away. Knicks led Brooklyn by 1 after 1, by 3 after 2. But the Knicks outscored the Brooklyn Nets 35-24 in the third quarter. And that proved to be a big reason why the Knicks would go on to win. As we said, the Nets would get within 5 or 6 points multiple times in the second half before the Knicks would re-up that lead, that advantage, to double digits. And again, that happened multiple times with big help from Cam Johnson, who was 7 of 12 from the floor for Brooklyn. He played 31 minutes while pumping in 22 points. Dennis Schroeder, who was leading the Nets in scoring, had just 8 points, was a minus 16, 2 of 11 from the floor. Kudos to the Knicks defense. And that's why we bring up the box score numbers for Brooklyn tonight. Kudos to the Knicks defense. We all know Tibbs is all about defense. So kudos, 32 of 76 shooting for Brooklyn tonight. That's 42%. Kudos to the Knicks defense once again. And as for the Knicks shooting, 49% from the floor. Once again, another solid night. We're going to have to worry about the minutes coming up, especially on a 5-game West Coast swing where Mikal Bridges just can't play 45 minutes every single night. Josh Hart, 46 minutes tonight. So Hart and Bridges essentially played the entire game. That's with Karl Anthony Towns in foul trouble and with Jalen Brunson struggling, and obviously no Ochua or Mitchell Robinson. Those minutes will come down when Ochua and Mitchell Robinson return. However, if Jalen Brunson struggles like he did tonight, that's why the minutes are up for Bridges and Josh Hart, 46 and 45, respectively. We even got 18 from Jericho Sims and 17 from Cam Payne. Cam Payne, again, hit 3 3-pointers tonight, was a +5 off the bench. Also dished out 6 assists. Again, phenomenal numbers across the board. 33 assists to just 6 turnovers for the Knicks. We'll take one last look at that long road trip because on the back end of it, we go to Charlotte before returning home for 4 more at the Garden. All right, we'll start right now by telling you to listen up, NFL fans. Now is your chance to start the season with a big return. Yep, you can do it with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So here's what you do when you have a hunch in the middle of the game. Go over to FanDuel, check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. The best part is it's all on the same page where you place your bets. Everything is right there for you. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com. One last segment, Locked On Knicks postcast, Knicks and Nets part 2. Of course, they played Friday night, and it was an exciting 124-122 win for the Knicks. It was an exciting night tonight, Sunday night at the Garden, 114-104. Karl Anthony Towns led the way, playing just 30 minutes. The combination of a bruised knee would hurt his lower back late in the game, and he was in foul trouble, so he played only 30 minutes. They made up for it, did the Knicks, by allowing Mikal Bridges to play 45 minutes. Not to be outdone, Josh Hart, 46 minutes. So again, rugged stuff from the Knicks, who got a 9 of 18 shooting night from Mikal Bridges, 9 of 17 shooting night from OG, 8 of 13 from Josh Hart. And when Bridges, OG, and Josh Hart are connecting, well, those guys combined hit 26 of the 43 field goals for the Knicks. Karl Anthony Towns, as we said, a wonderful night. 26, 15, and 6, and made all of those personal fouls count. Count them up with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He did not foul out. Again, he's fouled out once already this year, but that's once. Last year, fouled out 7 times. All right, Karl Anthony Towns returned after missing Friday night with a bruised knee. 2 early fouls on him on the bench. That's, again, why he only played 30 minutes. 114-104, the final score. Knicks have one more game, and that comes tomorrow night, the second half of a back-to-back. It was Brooklyn tonight, Washington tomorrow night. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Knicks Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now, LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. Also want to mention our partners in crime over at Locked On Knicks. You know them, Gavin Shaw and Alex Wolf. They'll handle all the stuff again at Locked On Knicks. Follow, subscribe, and enjoy. 114-104. Knicks got 26 from Karl Anthony Towns, 21 from Bridges, 24 from OG, 20 from Josh Hart. 4 Knicks starters with at least 20 tonight, and they win it by 10. 114-104. Knicks now 7-6 overall after back-to-back wins. They'll try and make it 3 in a row against Washington tomorrow night at the Garden. Knicks are 4-2 at home, and then the dreaded 5-game or West Coast swing. Phoenix Wednesday, Utah Saturday, Denver next Monday, Dallas next Wednesday, and Charlotte on Black Friday. That'll do it. The Locked On Knicks postcast. My name is Jay Berman. Remember, follow me on Twitter at Jay Berman, Jayberman. We'll be with you tomorrow night for the Locked On Knicks postcast. Knicks and Wizards from the Garden.